Welcome to the second video of today. Jimmy is with you as always, and we continue our selection of stories. Thanks to everyone who does not forget to write comments. This is very important. Well, let's get started. First story in the second part from the user, CrazyOwn. Let's listen. So, I'll start by saying, I'm generally quite a secure person and have never felt like I had any issues around this, until I read a message sent to my husband yesterday, and I'm kind of spiraling. Sorry, this may be long. For some backstory, my husband does downhill biking, has done since he was very young, knows his stuff, he's out there every day. Generally rides with the same group of guys, but they mostly stick to weekends. My husband goes out every day of the week, luckily because his job allows him to. If he's out on his own, generally weekdays, and the dogs are free, he'll take the dogs. They love it. So around 6 months ago, he was out in the morning with the dogs and ended up coming home earlier than usual. While he was out, he found this girl who fell off and had badly injured her arm or wrist. As you can imagine, he's done the same numerous times, knew exactly what to do and where to go to get seen quicker. He got her to the car park, packed the dogs and bikes up, and took her to the GP who referred her to hospital, and he came home, all good. Around a week after this, one of the guys he rides with sent him a screenshot of a post in a Facebook group that was made for people specifically who build and maintain the bike trails. It went something like, I'm looking for someone called, insert husband's name here, who helped me last week when I fell and got me to hospital. He drove a husband's truck and had 3 dogs, then listed our dogs' names. She had posted in a few groups before being linked to the group for the trail builders, who my husband goes out there with. My husband isn't on social media, so he said he could send her his number. She texted him to double check she had the right person. He said it was, and that he was glad she was feeling better, and he was happy to help. She offered him money, or to take him for lunch, which he declined, and just said again that he was happy to help. They text back and forth every now and then, her initiating, and it's mostly, hey, how are you? Hope you're well, until she starts getting better and can ride again. It turns to, hey, we should hit the trails sometime. Now, without tooting his horn for him, he's very good. Used to ride competitively when he was younger. Same with much of the guys he rides with. Most people at the park know who they are, and generally, if they hear them coming, will just get to the side and watch them pass. He tries to decline her offer in a way not to offend her, but there's no way she can keep up with them. There's a section that's just big jumps to practice on. He says maybe next time he's on those he'll give her a shout and they can meet up there. Eventually that happens, and he gives her a few tips, which then turns into her texting him more often about biking, asking for him to tutor her, and just general stuff. This goes on for the next couple months. There seems to be a friendship starting. I've never once had any concerns about this, and was quite happy for him to continue, and they do. So yesterday, Monday, he went out with the dogs and bumped into her, said they spoke for a while, and went a cycle with the dogs to wind down before he came home. She started texting him when he got home, and I can see these messages coming through the iPad as I was using it. To be clear, he's not hiding the texts. He openly leaves his phone lying around, no passcode. Lets our daughter play on it, happy for me to use it. Doesn't get weird or secretive about it in the slightest. He knows the iPad and laptop are linked to his phone, and it can all be seen by anyone using them. He has never gave me cause for concern. It's her intentions I'm not too sure on at this point. So anyway, the dogs. We have 3 working gun dogs used in the fields regularly, and while they can look like they're running riot down these trails, they are extremely well trained and tuned in to whatever my husband is doing, which becomes more apparent when he's not on the trails, and they're following, watching his every move. These texts started on about the dogs for a bit when she sent a text which ended in the following, like a slave looking to please their master. Admittedly, I don't care for emojis and the texting garb people use nowadays. I don't even know what the face means, frankly. But something about this made me feel icky, and I feel like there's an undertone going on here. He replied, but seemed to ignore that last comment. However, this caused me to think or look back on her communication, and feel like I've noticed a few red flags. She always initiates. If she doesn't get a reply, she seems to keep sending messages until he replies. Not once has she ever referenced or acknowledged the fact that he's married or has a family, even when he mentioned that he's been away for my birthday or that he's going to our daughter's dancing show. She'll change the subject as if she's pretending we don't exist, or to close down any mention of us. She often makes excuses for them to meet up, one-on-one. I'm sure there's more, but I don't want to scour through every message and feed into this more than I already have in case it's nothing. But am I crazy for thinking there may be something going on with her? I don't want to bring it up in case it is nothing, and I look like I'm being paranoid. It just isn't sitting right. I'm also pregnant, and the hormones are doing their thing. Should I say something? Or leave it and monitor this more closely for a bit? Or is this the effect of a 30-something pregnant mum whose husband seems to be aging like a fine wine, and any female he meets doing what he loves, being in amazing shape due to the hobby? Author update this story. It escalated quickly. So, my last post got a lot more responses than I thought it would get. I wasn't going to post an update, but feel like I owe it to all the people telling me to trust my gut. For those asking why my husband hadn't been more abrupt with her, in a nutshell, he always tries to keep the peace. I downplayed how well-known he is in our town. He comes from a well-known family in our area and was a downhill rider in the UCI and features in various YouTube channels. People come here specifically for the bike trails, and typically wherever he goes, there's usually a handful of people who recognize him and want to say hello. It's not a huge town. Everyone knows everyone kind of place, and like anyone, he would never want people to come away from any interaction with him with a sour taste in their mouth. After our daughter was in bed, I spoke with my husband, told him my thoughts, and he agreed she was being inappropriate, and that he in no way done or said anything that would indicate he was all right with it. He hoped by ignoring it, she would get the hint and leave him be. He didn't want to make things awkward or embarrass anyone, and admitted he probably should have said something. So after reading everyone's comments, there were loads of amazing ways people suggested shutting her down, which, in hindsight, would have been an amazing way to stop her in her tracks. However, he didn't want to ruffle feathers, so we went with the, we're starting to get ready for the baby and have lots to do, or prepare, and simply don't have the time or energy to be spent on the bikes or meetups, and he will be unavailable to her for the foreseeable suggestions. He typed it up, handed it to me for my approval, and I hit send. Minutes later, his phone pings. I'm in the kitchen, he's in the living room, and I see his eyebrows raise and he just looks at me. I go over and he just hands me the phone. The neck on this girl astounds me. She replied, "Okay, do you think we could meet up quickly tomorrow?" My heart sank, and I knew exactly what that meant. I burst into tears. In my head, this was the start of my world crumbling. My husband tried calming me down and asked me what I'd like him to do. Block her there and then, or ask what she wants to see him for. I wish I just told him to block her, but for some reason I wanted to know more. He replied asking what meeting up would achieve. She just says there's stuff she would like to talk to him about face to face. I felt like I was literally being punched in the chest and being winded at this point. He eventually gets the point across that he is not going to meet with her and drags it out of her. She tells him that at some point feelings started that turned into fantasies, and that basically he could do whatever he wanted to her, that I didn't need to know about it, and she would be happy to keep it that way. As she put it, our thing. It was more graphic than I'm willing to type. I felt like I was still keeping a level head on it until this point I lashed out, got very, very angry, started crying uncontrollably. My body was vibrating with anger. I've barely slept. Woke up crying. Felt like absolute dump all day today. I've already got in touch with our friends who run these Facebook groups she joined and asked them to remove her and make sure she doesn't join again. My husband replied last night and told me it's sorted and I don't have to worry about her. I didn't see the text he sent, but it's there on the iPad. But I can't bring myself to even open the iMessage app after seeing what I saw. It's not fair that someone thinks they can just do something like that, regardless of how it's going to impact an entire family. Currently, I don't want him leaving the house. I don't want him to ever go back to the trails. I don't want the dogs even going up there. The fact she has even touched my dogs makes me sick. So there we are. I still feel like my life's slipping away from me, like someone's trying to steal it. My confidence is shattered. My eyes sting. My head hurts from crying. Don't feel like eating. Don't think I've ever felt as low as I do just now. Husband's trying his best to comfort me, but it will take a while, I guess. He feels very guilty, despite me telling him he's done nothing wrong. I can't believe how quickly my life just changed with an unwise text. So, thank you to everyone telling me to believe my gut, and everyone else who took the time to comment. Author edited the story. I just want to add, I'm not controlling my husband. I'm not holding him hostage. He had to take them out today. The bike park is almost in our back garden. I'm describing how I feel just now, like it's a personal attack on me and my family. And I know this happens all over the world. My eyes were never open to it. This man's baby is about to burst out of my body. I don't feel attractive in any sense of the word right now. I feel I'm well within my rights to be a little distraught after seeing a text from a much younger, much fitter girl, describing in graphic detail the things she wants my husband to do to her. What I think about this story. Crazy thing is, she says she doesn't mind being a side piece and will be happy to keep it that way, knowing damn well at some point she'd definitely want to tell the wife, so the marriage could be over. So many homewreckers say this just to end up wanting the man to themselves and away from their wife, kids. It's also ridiculous that any man would fall for that happy to be a secret. User commented this story. I've seen that wording, but it's almost always a second or third hand telling about the advice. It's not about whether they deserve to be shamed. It's not even about whether they're to blame. It's about how a betrayed partner should be dealing with the betrayal. It's about not letting the AP be the focus of your anger, and using that as a way to avoid processing the complex feelings that you have about the cheater. APs are almost uniformly awful people. I can very easily blame my wife's APs for their lack of respect for our relationship, and also their lack of respect for their own relationships, because they weren't single either. But she's the one who made a commitment to me, and that makes her the one who is primarily responsible for all of her actions. She could have responded to the flirting and other overtures like OP's husband did. That's how I have always responded to any kind of flirting behavior, when I have actually noticed it. But again, I can still blame the other guys, and I would never tell anyone that they shouldn't blame the AP. But if they have the intention to try to reconcile, then they should be focusing on the person who they are trying to stay with. That's what matters. If you are leaving, then you should do what best suits the person who you want to be. Second story from the user Throwaway Stepsister. Let's listen. I, 25 female, got married 2 weeks ago. My now husband, 27 male, and I paid for most of the wedding, but my father covered a few costs for us. My father's girlfriend, Stella, has a daughter, Zoe, 21 female, who is finishing her degree in fashion. She wants to get into the wedding dress industry once she graduates. When I started planning my wedding, she offered to design and make my dress. I was hesitant at first, as I'd been excited about picking out my own dress. I agreed because I didn't know Zoe well. My father had only been dating her mother for 2 years, and I thought this could be a nice opportunity to bond. Also, I'd seen some of her work. She'd made a couple ball gowns in college, and she seemed honestly good. We met up a few times to discuss our ideas. During those, I realized our styles were drastically different, but we still managed to agree on a design. I gave Zoe my measurements and asked her to update me. She didn't. Whenever I asked her how she was doing, she'd say she would send me progress pictures when she got home. She never did. It took her longer than expected to finish it, and I didn't get the dress until a month before my wedding. It looked nothing like the design we'd agreed on. It was the wrong color, the wrong style, everything. It looked exactly like the type of dress Zoe would want to wear, but I knew I'd never wear anything like it. I really did not like that dress. When I tried it on, I found out it was also about 3 sizes too big. Though I knew I could probably have it altered, I truly did not want to wear that dress on my wedding day. I called Zoe and told her I wouldn't wear the dress. I said it looked lovely, but not the style we'd agreed on, and I thought it would be best for me to find a different dress. I offered to pay her for her work. She'd made the dress for free, but she declined and hung up on me. I went to a retail bridal store with my maid of honor, and we found a beautiful gown that didn't need much altering. It looked exactly like what I wanted. Fast forward to my wedding. I walked down the aisle in the dress I bought. Zoe seemed to be on the verge of tears during the ceremony, and Stella gave me dirty looks throughout the reception. When I approached them a while later, they were both short with me. My father, Stella, and Zoe left less than an hour into the reception. My father and Stella called me the next day and told me off for how I'd treated Zoe. This had been her first time making a wedding dress and had been excited to see me wearing it. They said it was insulting of me to not wear the dress she'd put so much effort into. I tried to explain why I hadn't worn the dress, but they're both insisting the dress was beautiful, and I could have sucked it up. My husband and my younger sister, not Zoe, are on my side. I've been feeling guilty about this since I decided not to wear the dress. AITA. What I think about this story. You were more than accommodating of this practical stranger, and I can't imagine anything else you could have done differently or better. She should learn that this is not how you deal with a client. Plus, sometimes your final product just isn't going to be aesthetically appealing to them, and you can't blame them for what they like. User commented this story. Zoe thought you were going to be her pet project because her parents have made her feel like the world should bow down to her every whim. She can sulk all she wants. And tell your dad if he continues this way, you will cut contact with him for a while. You are a newlywed. Go enjoy marital bliss and let Zoe be a child. You don't have to suck it up on your wedding day. They tried to make it about Zoe, and you didn't let it happen. Too bad she's not learning her lesson. She sounds like a brat. Thanks to everyone who was here today. I am very grateful for your support, and I hope you like my videos. See you tomorrow. I love you all. Bye-bye.